from rawfreedom.co.uk and welcome to today's recipe demonstration. Today I'm going to be demonstrating two recipes from my recipe book. One is the marinated mushrooms, which if you've got my recipe book you can follow along on page 100. And the other one is the wilted greens with sweet chilli sauce, which is on page 104 if you want to follow along. So there are three different components to this. There's the marinated mushrooms, the wilted greens and the sweet chilli sauce. Now I've already prepared the sweet chilli sauce because I've already done a recipe video for this chilli sauce, and I'm going to put a link for it below this video so that you can actually just go straight to that recipe video if you want to learn how to make the most delicious raw sweet chilli sauce. And first of all we're going to start off with the mushrooms. So I love to use brown chestnut mushrooms because they've got more depth of flavour, but you can use white mushrooms. You can also use portobello mushrooms if you want, so you can kind of experiment with which kind of mushrooms you actually use. I do them in quite generous slices. You know, I kind of like to have a nice bite to my marinated mushrooms. And a lot of people who don't actually like mushrooms are amazed that they like raw marinated mushrooms. A lot of kids really love marinated raw mushrooms as well, so it's worth trying them with your kids if you've got kids. So we've got 4 of these brown mushrooms which I've just sliced, and here I'm going to be making the marinade for the mushrooms. We've got 4 tablespoons of olive oil, which is also the same as a 1/4 cup if you like to use cup measurements. And we're going to use 1 tablespoon of tamari. Now for those of you that don't know, tamari is basically a gluten-free soya sauce, so it's better for you than normal traditional soya sauce. Clear Spring, if you can get Clear Spring, it is one of the best brands because it doesn't have any stuff in it, any extra horrid stuff. So we're putting in 1 tablespoon of that, and we're just going to mix that until it's well combined. And the reason why we mix it is because you don't want your mushrooms to absorb some patches of olive oil and some patches of tamari. You want it to be all nicely even. So into that we're going to add our mushrooms and give them a good stir around so they're well coated. Make sure we've got a nice bit of marinade on every surface. And now you can kind of eat these straight away, but they actually soften and sort of wilt if you leave them to marinate for a bit longer. You can even do them the day before and they'll have the texture of cooked mushrooms by the time you come to them. So there we've got our lovely well-coated mushrooms, which are going to just sit there while we do the next part. So the next part is our wilted greens. So here I'm using spinach, but you can also use chard. You can use rainbow chard. I generally like to use the kind of softer leaved green veggies for this. So 3 handfuls, I kind of like to use generous handfuls, so I'm going to do 3 of these little spinach bunches. And then I'm going to just slice them into fine slices. I generally love having this as a kind of weekend breakfast or as a light supper. So it really kind of, you know, if you like to have, if you used to like to, or you're trying to stop yourself from having like cooked fry-ups at the weekend, this is a really lovely alternative. And I sometimes also will have these with poached eggs as well. So this is like wilted greens with marinated mushrooms, poached egg and sweet chilli sauce is just divine, and it's so satisfying if you like a bit of a hearty breakfast. So So to this we're going to add just 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And a big pinch of salt. Now what the salt does is it actually really helps to wilt the greens. When the salt comes into contact with the leaf actually releases its natural juices. So a nice big pinch of salt. And I'm also going to add half a clove of garlic. If you've never seen this before, this is the best way to take the skin off a garlic. You just use the flat of your knife, give it a big whack, and chop the end off. The whole thing will just peel away really beautifully. So I'm just using half, so I'm going to put that in the garlic crusher. If you haven't got a garlic crusher, you can just use a knife and chop the garlic finely. So just going to scrape that off. And then you just get your hands in and you give it a really good massage. And what you're doing is you're basically helping the cell walls of your greens to break down. So you're getting it in touch with the oil, with the salt, with the garlic, and by the massaging action you'll actually find that your spinach starts to wilt. So like, you know, when you wilt it, when you cook it, when you're literally just sort of taking the rawness out of it. And the same thing happens when you do it like this. So you take that kind of crunchy rawness out of it, but you still have all the goodness of it being raw. So give it a good massage. You know, things like chard might take a bit longer than spinach. You might need to do for a few more minutes. But what you're looking for is for the leaves to go all dark and glossy. Once it's gone all dark and glossy, you know that you've managed to wilt your spinach down. So, just going to give my hands a bit of a wipe. So what you'll find with this sweet chilli sauce is it's absolutely brilliant because it keeps in the fridge for up to 3 weeks, so you can make a batch of it and keep it. So I'm now going to serve up my delicious breakfast. So we've got our greens. Okay. I will also have this with toast sometimes. I really like it with a bit of toast, in which case if you're going to have it with toast, this would be enough for 2 people. If you're just going to have it raw on its own, then you probably will want the whole of this recipe to yourself, because raw doesn't fill you up as much as when you're eating cooked. So on go your marinated mushrooms. Oh, making me hungry looking at it. Delicious. If you've made your sweet chilli sauce, give it a bit of a mix and then just drizzle. And there is one of the most satisfying and delicious raw breakfasts that you can